Tim, what are good bar angles left and right? Very slick racetrack, Michigan track, A mod. Um, we run our left rear. I run our left rear 45 to 50 degrees up if I'm running the zero indexing stuff, where where I won't have the chance of camming over. The right rear, the left rear lower. Well, we're all over the board on that. We've got some guys that got 10 degrees of angle, and we've got some guys that have, 4 or 5. Right rear, the upper is usually at about 18 degrees of angle. The right lower is usually at about 2 or 3. And then you can actually lower that right lower if it's really slick getting in. You can drop it down to the point where it's at 0 degrees, and that'll tighten the car up on corner entry. Any more open motor guys running with crates? Of course, for me down here in IMCA land, you're pretty much, to be competitive in an IMCA A mod, you almost got to run a crate motor. The B mod guys with the 5-inch spoiler, they're running some open motors with their 2-barrel carburetors. That's pretty common. But the A mods, it's pretty rare. What was your opinion on those bar angles, Chad?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, the left bottom rod is one of them ones, like you say, you got guys in different ranges, and I feel like more times than not, it depends on the radius of the corner. So if it's a tight little bull ring, you're automatically going to have more left bottom rod angle to get the steer quicker, so you transition through the apex. And if you're on a big sweeping corner track, you probably can take some of that left bottom rod steer and influence away so that you can square up and run down a big long straightaway. So I mean, it really does kind of depend on the shape of the corner, I feel, on that left bottom rod. The other three are pretty standard, I mean, then you get to where you just basically tune that right rear and marry the left upper, and I feel like the left bottom rod is more of the track radius.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Matt wants to know if we've got any thoughts on negative bar angle on the right rear. What's your opinion on that, Chad?
Yeah, some guys definitely do go below 0 through the end of the night on the right bottom rod just to get that traction. Sometimes it can make you too free in. So again, you got to think about if the car is completely smashed on the right rear all the way down the straightaway and you get in the corner, if you're not lifting out of the throttle and transition that right rear to a point where you're going to get free when that thing wheelbase is back, then that's kind of that one of them deals where if you get a little's good and too much is bad. So you got to be careful how below 0 or negative you go, because the reaction with the suspension cage there and the roll steer can get erratic at times.
Well, it definitely is a sensitive situation when you start going below. It just all depends, like Chad said, just depends on the circumstances.
A lot of times with that right rear, if you're just looking for a timing deal, putting that thing down will give you the traction, but longer arms on the right rear would give you maybe the timing that you're looking for there to delay that roll steer and give you the traction off the corner when, the angle kind of does two things, one on entry and one on exit. So maybe it's just lengthening the bars to slow that center of the corner transition.
What's been your experience with longer bars on the left lower?
Yeah, the left lower, I mean, there's guys all over the board, and we've been selling a lot of longer bars. But, again, when you look at the zero index versus non-zero, the guys are manipulating the bar lengths to not cam over also. But my problem, I think, on an 8-inch tire car going into the corner, the longer you make the left bottom rods, the lazier the thing is to get into the middle. And if you can't get into the corner, then you can't get off, because if you got to give more wheel to make the phase 2 of the corner, if you will, then you're going to be sideways off the corner. So you put the long rod on to to try and delay it and do things with your steer and manipulate it. But at the end of the day, you kind of hurt that entry enough to defeat the purpose in my book.
Cool. Matt was talking about, the sport mod. Well, actually, Matt, with the sport mod, I'd really be leery of going below level. I'm afraid that would make the car just way too tight. It would really scrub speed, in my opinion, in the middle of the corner, because when you go to that negative angle, now keep in mind when you go to the negative angle, that right rear tire is coming forward all the time. It never has a chance to go back before it can go back forward. So you're going to have a real tight condition in the middle. Now, back in the day, John Logue Sr. was definitely one of them guys that definitely ran negative angle at Boone Speedway, and it worked very well for him at Boone Speedway. So I'm not saying that it isn't the situation, but from what I see now, our horsepower and our tire was a little better back then, to the point where I'm not so sure that, with that 2-barrel carburetor and the 9-to-1 engine or whatever their open motor is, I don't think we have the power to power through it like we used to could years ago. Tim, so what is your max lower left bar angle B, sweeping corner? I would say 10, 12 degrees. I mean, like McBurney's car, we've ran that up there 10, 12 degrees. It definitely makes the car rotate the middle awesome. Doesn't have quite the drive off the corner that you would expect it to have, because when both bars are pointed up, kind of what happens is it gets, the condition hikes up fairly quickly and doesn't last near as long. So that's kind of the problem that we ran into, was we could go through the middle of the corner super great, but if it was really, really slick coming off, we didn't feel like we had that 100 feet past the corner. We didn't have the traction straightaway speed that I'd like to see the car have when we played with that. So like this last weekend, we were a lot less bar angle, and he ended up running fourth. Jeremy Mills won, and Jeremy's car looked really awesome. He did a great job. Todd Shute and I don't remember who actually was third, but anyway, those guys had a heck of a race. They were all four around the top, bumper to bumper, and they did a great job.